so I wanted to develop or create a keynote or an event for this. And then that was what we ended up with creating. Michael, please stop the videos of the people that have video on. And yeah, so we wanted a release event and show what everything happened. And then things happened. I was tested positive for COVID on Monday or Saturday. So I had to do it from home. So maybe not as fancy as we would have hoped to have it, but so far I'm doing pretty well. It has not been a bad illness so far. So hope it stays like that. So I'm here from home with the family, and we're doing okay. So yes, that was the reason we tried to put it into this format. So the things I wanted to cover today is the Figaf, what we are, then the new things we have built to make it easier to handle SAP process orchestration or process integration. And obviously I'll probably be mostly using process integration because I think that is what we cover the most. The process orchestration is obviously all the other layers, the BPM, the B2B add-on, all these other capabilities that we do not have a solution for at the moment. So that's some different things there. I'll show you a demo of what's possible, some of the other changes, and then we have time for Q&A. And yeah, if you're here, just say hi in the chat. If you have questions, comments, you can also try to raise those in there. So who is Figaf? We're a company that have worked on creating tools to automate SAP integration, and we've done that for 5 years. And we started out creating a tool to automate SAP PI testing, much like the PIT tool is doing. We did find that during this process, we needed to understand a lot more about what was going on in the process, which object that was, and then we found out, hey, we might as well make it easier to govern these things, and then that kind of evolved, and this is the latest evolution I'd like to show you today about this, that you can actually handle all configuration directly from the Figaf tool instead of going to the repository or the directory in your QA system. Cool. So DevOps for cloud integration, and I guess the elephant in the room, and if you have comments on this, please put them into the chat. I would like to hear your take on this. But the main idea is, if it does make sense continuously to be using process integration. We obviously know SAP's focus now is cloud integration or integration suite, which is really a nice platform to handle a lot of integration in the process. And yeah, it is able to do a lot of the work that you'd be doing. And we do provide a tool that can automate the migration, and we'll show a little more about some of the improvements we have done in that one. There's a lot of limitations if you are on a PI system compared to a CPI system. And obviously, this is something that will take a little while moving between the two platforms. There's obviously A2A scenarios where you need to do something on the on-premise system that is a little difficult using Cloud Connector, etc. If it's few scenarios, probably not really a problem, but if you have huge environments with a lot of participation, etc., this is obviously going to be problematic. Then there's something on the governance and the reuse. So how are you actually able to govern your SAP integration on what is going on, who have made which changes? There is the separation and the separation of configuration and deployment that is a little off. There's monitoring. that in the PI world is a little better in some aspects. And then I think the biggest one is the exactly once and exactly once in order. SAP have released something on this, and obviously you have the DMS queues, etc. But this is, I think, just the place where the integration suite has the most capabilities to handle some of these requests. And definitely, if you're a client with more than the screen is okay, right? Just something happened here. I don't know what happened. You can still see my screen, right? If you're a client with more than 500 integration, then yeah, it is definitely, our cloud integration is probably not the ideal tool yet. Oh, can you just say if you can see? So you're seeing both screens. I should just show you what happened then. Recording, pause recording. Yeah, I should just show you one screen. Is that helping now? Okay, good. Yeah, perfect, good. Yes, so obviously there are scenarios where the CPI is not ideal yet, and this is for you guys that are using one of those scenarios where you have too many integrations going on. And that is what we have added here to this release, 2112, which we, I guess, caught from the SAP note or the SAP naming convention for releases. I think that is a good way of naming these things. So I think this is our biggest release yet. So it's 1,500 plus hours that have gone into simplifying operations. And yeah, the biggest improvement we have done and we have had to postpone it a couple of times. I think we hope to release it in October. And then there was just a lot of gaps we needed to get in before we could really merge all of this together. But we are running this live at a large production or a large client, which means we already have information that this is actually working and it is running smoothly. Good. So the goal of the project we had was they wanted to move away from sending Excel or Word documents between each other team to show what was going on, who made changes on which objects. And yeah, I don't know if you are also into this, and I've seen that a number of different clients, that whenever you are going to make any change, you would create a Word or Excel document that says, on test system, this communication channel needs to be changed in this way. This should be changed to these attributes, and the same for production. And that means you need to send these documents through. Someone needs to approve it and yeah, see how it behaves. And yeah, that I guess is actually the biggest part of the change they wanted. And do you also share Excel documents about which changes you need to engage and what is going on? Yeah, then they wanted also this part about handling configurations much more immediately and much easier. They wanted to be able to switch sender receivers of ICO and batches, so they could change some of the system, the backend systems, as a part of an S4 project, that if they created a new server for the S4 project, that all things could actually happen and they could reuse the ICOs or copy them into using new systems. And then they also had the challenge that they had a number of, so they're doing development, but it was not all ICOs or all interface rules that needed to be deployed towards the end of the channel or into production. So they wanted to enable the user to say it is only these ICOs I want to transport. And then also a rollback option if you have applied a change, being able to roll it back to what happened before. So that means that we have just added one new component, which is the binary landscape. So previously we had a landscape that said you had dev, queue, production into one landscape. And that meant if you created a transport, you could then handle the configuration in the full flow of this landscape. It did mean that every time you made changed, or if you moved something to the QA system and there was an error, you needed to roll back everything, create the transport again. That obviously was an okay start, but it does not really match the way you're delivering integration with at the current pace, where you would most likely move something to QA system, do changes there, and then transport it once you have tested everything and seems okay. So with this, it gives you a lot more option about handling transport, handling the setup. And so we have options. We can rename system, and we even have an option that you can actually transport from this within the same system, which makes it a lot easier to copy or change configuration in the system. It can be linked to, so if you have created a number of binary landscapes, they become a composite landscape, because you know it goes from one system to another, and then from this other system, from the test to the production system. And then that is the composite, which is just the correlation of these systems. And this makes it easier for us to navigate and ensuring that tickets are kept all the way through. We also have an option to set up mappings between systems and agents, so we can map business components, business systems between the system, just as this in the SLD. We have substring replacement of transport, so you can replace backend host names, so you do not need to create them every time. And then this feature would also be really useful for cloud integration and API management, where you also have the option to transport items, deliver it, and approve it. We have improved the configuration of channels, and I'll also show you this, where you can actually go in and see what is being changed and have a lot better option of reviewing the changes, see who made which change, filtering based on which object. So there's some really cool filters in there. You cannot see password changes, but you would be notified that if there's a password, then you need to figure out how to deal with this. There is an improved review and approving capability. So it's okay. So once you're creating changes, if you reject it, the whole state is kept, which makes it a lot easier to make modifications and review and improve these things. And then obviously, we have an option that you cannot approve your own transports, which really is a huge part of the governance process, that you know it is someone else that is approving the changes. So you got this 2I principle on all objects, all changes. We added tagging, which is a way to identify objects within a project or business unit. And this simplifies also the process of identifying owner, improve documentation on what is going on. It also enables you to understand which applications has been affected by change. So you can say it is this object that's being changed, and then figure out the object in this. And then if you're transporting attacked objects to the next system, this would also be a part of the change, so you would be able to see what's going on there. Oh, that's the wrong one. So let me show you what this actually looks like, and hopefully you can see how this can be a lot different than the way you're currently working with your SAP integration. So here we have our CPI, or here's the Figaf tool. This is a local Java application that you can run wherever you need to run it. What we do have here is we are searching for all the ICOs, or all objects having continuously versions of these things. So what we can actually do here is we can look at a version here. We can check what is the difference between two versions. We can compare it. So we can see that there was some text changed here. And obviously we have an option to look at all part of the objects if it is message mappings. So we have linked all of these objects together, so we can actually see this ICO is using this operation mapping, and this operation mapping is then using, so here, if we just look at the versions here, we have an option to check the internal method. So we have a number of different reports to show what's the difference between two objects. So here you're just seeing this diff mode. We also have diff to, oh, this was the standard one. We could also show it in an Excel sheet where it will show you what the difference are. And for a number of different objects, we have different way of comparing these and showing what the differences are. So so here we have an object that has been changed. We want to transport this as a part of a governance process, or as a service request. So the way we'll do that is we will connect it to an attached object or a ticket, and the ticket is then linked softly with your service request in either ServiceNow, Jira, wherever you are hosting all of these things. So it will never replace them. It will just make it possible for you to document these things. And obviously you can, yeah, it's a better way to deal with this. So we'll create a ticket for it. We can specify which landscape, and we would need to use this binary run. We can then add a Jira ticket ID for this incident. And that means that if I then later in my Jira, I will then be able to find this this ID, and I could also go back or put a link to the Jira with this ticket ID. So now that's created, we can then go here, we can select attach all dependent objects, or either specific objects, or we can attach all the dependent object that needs to be there. And here we can see we're getting also the repository object, and we also have transport of that. So you could do that just the same way. But for now, I just want to not do it, because for this release, we have some synchronization issues that takes a little longer time once we're doing the transport of these objects. So right now it is just a repository that we would look at. The first thing we want to do is we want to look up if we have any test cases for these objects. And what it will do is it will take the objects that, so based on all the objects in the transport, it will figure out, okay, so you're going to change these ICOs, and then we'll see, okay, for these ICOs, we have these test cases. And you can then press save, and then it will be adding these ones to it. And obviously you needed to add all of the relevant test cases. You can then specify you want to run it on the system, which will then take all the artifacts we have here, run the test where it will send the message through. And this is just like the PAT tool, except it has some advanced capabilities like checking at modules, being able to compare XML, Edifact, X12, TraderComp in a simple way. And what we can then view, we can view the results. We can see that there's errors here. We can check the difference. You can see it's the product number that is different. We have already ignored here, so it's just about adding ignore here to handle this. Or we can say, oh, now this is okay. We know this is the change we have made as a part of this. And then we can just say here, next time we would expect the new outcome to come from here. But the thing we wanted to do was to incorporate the full delivery process into the tool, which makes it a lot easier to ensure that people would be able to test the transport, making sure everything worked correctly. So now we have created all the objects, we've created our transport, and we are ready to start the transport. And what we can see here is this created transport, and we have here an option to look at a communication channel. We can see the different objects in this composite landscape. So we can actually see what this object would look like in our T75 to D75, so our productive landscape. And here we can see all the same properties. So it makes the navigation a lot easier. And what we have of option here is we can change the description if we want to. Brilliantly. We have an option to, so the thing we added here is you can show the documentation of this, which makes it a lot easier to understand what is going on. We have here filter criteria on things that has been changed between these things. And we also have option here to show all transportable value. And then I would normally do a check to see none of the non-transportable values have been changed as a part of this. And you can also check that the transportable value are the only ones that's been changed. So let's just do a change to this one. And this one we would also put in 26. I'm not sure what the step counter would do. I guess I can obviously see it, but we don't really know what the default or the value with this would be like. So we can go back. We can also in the ICO or here we have the object, here we have the link to the object, and here we can go in and see all the objects. And let's just change the description. If it already exists there, we can fetch it from that system without making modifications to it. So now we have made a modification to the ICO, and we can then go to validate the transport. I think this will still be valid. We'll check for password. And I think this is also one of the things we will do a few more items in. We can now check who have received this and what's going on. And I think I would also get an email that states, hey, does this transport go in and approve it? Oh, that's the wrong one here. But now I can approve it or I can reject it. So go. The rejection, then I would also get a message back, hey, saying it was not approved, please approve it again or make these modifications. So the developer could then give you the information about, or the architect about what you need to do to get this approved. So now I can import it on the target system. And this, yeah, depending on system, can take a little while. So this is both applying this and configuring everything successfully. So now I can go back to my ticket. I can see that my transport is imported. I can then resolve the ticket. And resolving the ticket means I have delivered this as expected. And then I can actually go here, I can create a report. And this report then contains all the information about this ticket that I've done. And the idea is you can actually then move this into the ServiceNow document. So here you have all the information about what is going on in it. You have all the attached objects that was both in the D and the test system. You have the test cases that ran and which objects that did not run. So I did not run this test again. So now we can also see the errors that are going into this. And here we can see the transport, and we can see some items were skipped because they already exist. but 2 items was actually changed on this system. So this gives us a lot of insights about what was changed as a part of this change. And I could do another change, transport some more objects from dev to test with these artifacts. Now I want to go to my test system. And here we can see this ICO has been changed. We have also here the version. We can see which ticket it has been linked to. And that means I can actually go back and find this release demo we created here on this system. Or I can just compare and see what is different. So we can see we added this new description here. So this gives us a lot of extra capabilities on handling the governance process. So we can assign this to a new ticket. Demo. Now we only have this binary landscape, Jira, items, and we have now created the ticket. And we can see here that it then relies on the old ticket that we already created. So you can see this chaining of attributes along the release process. I'll just add all the dependent objects again, just so we get a little more details here and a little more to do of changes. I guess I'll just do it with the repository objects from this system here. I will start my transport. And because we have repository object, this could take a little longer to deal with. So now we can see we got a migration ticket and a release or a directory ticket. And here we have an option here to compare these objects, and we can see what is different, if there are any differences between these systems. There's still the approval part here, approve. So you need to have the full transport approved before you can, send it to approve. We don't want to do that. So let's just do a soft decline. What to fix. So if we send this back, we can actually go in here on the communication channel and make changes to that was not the one on this communication channel. It was the sender system. So here in the sender system, I can make modification. I can create a new sender system that is involved in this. So that means I can efficiently connect it in a little different way. And so here we've got the save button. And this makes it gives you some quite advanced capabilities to handle the setup of all artifacts. So now we have configured this, we can send it to approval and approve it. So now it's possible to approve it or import it on the system, where we'll be making these modifications to it. And we can see something has been resolved. We can see it actually created a new system here. And if we go to the service interface, we can also do the import here, but nothing has changed here, so it will not give us much more details in it. But this makes it possible to actually see the full release process, understand what is going on, who made which changes, etc. For this. And you can create the Excel document for this also. So that is the new improved features. If you look at the tags here, we have an option here to see the different tags we have. And in our object here, we can then search for a given tag and see the object that has been transported that was a part of this this tag. So this gives you a lot more capability of understanding which object has been changed and what is going on in the system. Questions so far? Then put them into the chat, or in the YouTube chat. You can also put them there if you're watching it there. Good. Otherwise, let me continue with the slides. Yeah, we have an option to roll back, and this is quite simple. It's just on the transported page. You have an option that you can say, so on a transport here, let me just take the last one we did here. Directory here. Here you have an option actually to say rollback, and then it will roll back the changes that has been applied during this this transport. And yeah, there's a lot of limitations on it, but so yeah, this is what you need to see. Kishore, this is the Figaf tool that I'm showing here. With ICO want how to yes, so this thing about if change or communication channels are changed, this was the part I showed here about that you can go in on a given system and change it to a different system. Obviously, this would be for business components where it makes most sense, but we have also the option if it is business or business components and not only business systems to handle it there. So yeah, so this one of them, the main feature is obviously the improved governance. It is about giving you an audit trail of everything that have been done on the system, making sure all changes have been connected with a change ID, and yeah, you can put this into your service request system to ensuring you know what has been done. It's about testing that the integrations that you have created are delivered correctly. And then it also improves the supportability because you know the object that has been changed or which object has been changed on your productive system, because everybody would be able to see you actually made this ticket on this object that was failing, and then you can actually much easier find the developer or project that was a part of the process. And you'll probably also ask what is different from CTS Plus or whatever you would be using. So CTS Plus, Charm is really good tools, and I think the best thing with those is that they integrate well with the rest of the process, so you can transport objects using this. One of the challenge, and I guess this is also as been written in chat, it is difficult to actually compare objects and understand what's been changed. So a lot of times you would see that in a transport, you can see that it is this message mapping that you want to transport, but what you cannot see is which changes is actually going to be incorporated. With this compare tool, you're actually able to see the different object versions that apply, meaning who made these changes and what they actually are. And that also makes it a lot easier to view the differences. Yeah, and then the other thing is, if you have transporting directory objects, you would still need to create the transport with objects, and then you need somewhere externally to write, change these documents because these things have happened. And then you need to, often when I've been doing this, I have had to chase down basis admin or something like that to go in and show, okay, go into the communication channels, take the change list, make these two modifications, and then activate it. I guess that is how the normal way of separating this. With this, you are just, as an architect, approving, and then you can do the import after it as you want. yeah, and you don't need this manual job about importing. You can just click import and then it will be imported. What values would we see is obviously also a good question, and I think this is also what you need to do or understand if you want to sell it internally. Yes, it's about simplifying the deployment. It's about speeding up the deployment process, because you do not need to spend a lot of time creating documents, because everything is connected, linked together with the change, and lowers the cost, improves the governance, as we talked about earlier, and it removes the boring part about operations or integration design. I don't know that many developers that enjoy creating documents and handling the approval process. Here you will just do your development, synchronize the system, and then you can say, these are the objects I want to transport. So it will make you a lot happier. Yes, thanks for that, Nikish, that you like the governance feature. That is, yes, less questions about what is being done on the system, because everybody would be able to find these things. So some of the other things we have done is we have improved the PI to CPI migration. One of the things we've added is the ability to migrate best effort scenarios or messages with a response mapping. We have added the option to, if you have like a template iFlow, you want to put in your message mappings in, you can also use the tool for that. And the reason why you want to use our migration tool is that it supports message mappings with function libraries, which is not supported with the default tool. And then we have parameters and a lot of other things that makes the migration process simpler. We have improved the synchronization process, so we got some better cases there. And then we have improved the migration of test cases, so we can also test these synchronous scenarios. Let me just spend 2 minutes on showing you a migration scenario. I think we'll probably in the next, in January, show you a little more about what is going on here. So I can find ICO here. This one has, and this has, it's both synchronous and has operations to manage it. I'd select which CPI systems. I can then check what's going on, and here I can see the different mappings that have been used to map this scenario. If you face problems, you can download a default debug file here that contains all the artifacts that have been found. This should hopefully make our debug process a little easier, because we can see all the data that is being used here. And then I can preview the iFlow version. So this is the iFlow that will be created. And if I just click on migrate here, it will take all of these artifacts and it will create a new flow. And this is also a new improvement, that you can easily navigate to this. As you saw here, there's a few manual things that you would need to check, and you can configure these also, what needs to pop up here in it. And if I, so here we can see the different setup that has been created, the scenario where we have copied external properties to, so this is defined as an external property in the iFlow, and this gives us a lot of capabilities for handling this. And we can also take the test cases, migrate it, and run it on the system. So that is a part of the improvement. We have some roadmap features that we're looking at. This binary landscape should also work for integration suites of both PI or cloud integration and API management, because it also makes a lot of sense there that you can transport items from your dev to your QA system and have a lot of transports until you are satisfied with the result. Then you go in and create a transport from the queue to the test system or productive system, and have these kind of engage with this improvements. It is about improving the usability and the stability. So there's been a lot of UI changes and things we need to ensure everything works on. And then I think the last thing we want to work on is to use the SAP Cloud Foundry as our deployment option, because I think, yes, so you can actually run this on your laptop without much requirement, but obviously that is not really a scalable solution. You need a persistent database that everybody and all applications have access to. The Cloud Foundry just gives that a lot easier, and everybody anyway have access to it. And now, if not, you can always run it on any server that you have to handle the integration in that way. So that was all I wanted to do. So time for Q&A. And if you find this interesting and you want us to have a better discussion on this with some of your point of views, you can go to this link, figaf.com/book, and book a session with me and write something about your challenges. What is it that you're actually looking for? Or we can do that, I guess, in the new year when it is convenient for you. I just wanted to take this time to say, I hope you find this interesting. Thanks for all the questions and comments in the feedback section of this. And yeah, I hope you can see how this can benefit you going forward with your SAP integration delivery process. So yeah, that was all I wanted to cover in this session. Now it's time for questions, so I'll just be hanging around, hoping you have some questions going on there. Krishna? Yes, S4 migration definitely is is the place or what this client had. So yeah, a complex landscape, and they needed this functionality about taking artifacts from one system and copying them to the new system, so they can ensure that the S4 project works the same way as the existing integration without compromising the already delivered integration. So this was the capability that you can create a binary landscape on the same system, copying and replacing systems. As you saw, we could just take a business component, a business system, and say, now it is not the S4 or the ERP system, but the S4 system, and then you can copy all ICOs to be using that one instead. And that simplifies the the deployment process for this. Yes, that's good. I think that is also the reason why the client engaged with us for this, because we could solve it. So hopefully we can have a session on that with your company, Krishna, and show some of these things, what would be the most beneficial things for these things. And obviously you get full documentation of changes, and everybody can see what is going on between the different systems. Cool. Other questions? But yeah, thanks of you for joining. And also, if you're on the YouTube, thanks for joining there. It's been a pleasure, and definitely it has been an interesting project working on this. And I would definitely expect that it will give some benefits for making migrations easier. So yeah, thanks for joining. And yeah, be sure to book. I can see some bookings. So thanks for that. And I guess we will talk then. But yeah, find out with your team when a good time would be. And how this could actually improve the way you are delivering integration. And yeah, that can be different scenarios, and we have not covered all the different things that would actually be possible here. Thanks, Prakash, Hilian. Thanks for joining, Antonio. Great to see you again. And yes, anything else I can show while we're at it? But yeah, it definitely, yeah. I hope, I hope it would save you quite some time with this. Shakis, thanks for joining. Yes, we will send out hopefully the YouTube recording. You can get that one. You can actually already find it. I will just make some cuts in it because it contains a little too much information, or a 15-minute blank start. Let me see if I can find the copy streaming link here. So here is the YouTube stream. We have not created the documentation yet of this. Hi, Redek, thanks for joining. But obviously this is something we would be releasing a few more things on, and it is one of the more complicated things, understanding what to write. And I don't think that, so with our CPI or PI to CPI migration, I think it is a lot easier to use the tool. With this, it is one of more complicated part of the deployment process. And that means that you as a developer need to understand a lot more about what the tool can do, and if it supports your specific scenarios. But I think we have covered quite a lot of the different use cases there, and obviously some things would probably be pretty simple also to add as a part of this, because yeah, we got the framework, so it is just I know Ilias is still watching, had and have done a lot of this architecture. It's, yeah, will not say just, but yeah. Yeah, so thanks for joining. And yeah, over the time we will create some more logic on this, but I do not think that it would make sense to go into all the details. Just have it at the level saying these are the different things we have, and or these are the capabilities. So maybe it will be just as we have with our PI to CPI migration. We will show a list of the different features that we have. So migration tool, PI to CPI migration. Here we have a full list of the supported feature, and it'll probably be something in the same line about saying some of these different things that we are able to do. Cool. Thanks, and thanks for joining. Stop record. We'll end the stream, and good.